Deal with it. Those were the only words my dad gave me when I called him from the driveway, staring at my childhood home with a bright red sold sign stabbed into the front lawn. Can you imagine coming home from college, expecting a warm welcome, only to find your entire life packed in boxes on the street? Welcome to Jake's Revenge, where we dive into stories that hit you right in the gut. My name is Ryan. I was 22, 3 weeks into summer break from Kansas State University, and everything I owned sat in cardboard boxes, getting damp from the morning dew in Topeka, Kansas. I had driven 8 hours straight from campus, windows down, music loud, thinking about my mom's cooking and sleeping in my old bed. Instead, I found strangers moving furniture through the front door I used to walk through every day after school. The key didn't work. The locks had been changed. The moving truck in the driveway wasn't ours. I knocked on the door like an idiot. A woman in her 50s answered, looked me up and down, and said, "Can I help you?" She didn't know who I was. Why would she? My parents had sold our house to her family and never mentioned they had a son. How does a family erase their own child like that? Stick with Jake's Revenge to find out what happens next. My phone buzzed with a text from my dad. We moved to Arizona. Your stuff is outside. Good luck. That was it. 22 years of living in that house, and I got a text message. I called him 3 times before he picked up. His voice was flat, like he was reading from a script. Ryan, we made a decision. Your mom and I are starting fresh. You're an adult now. Figure it out. Where am I supposed to live? Not my problem anymore. The line went dead. I sat on the curb next to my boxes and tried calling my mom. Straight to voicemail. I called my dad back. Voicemail. I called the house phone they'd had for 15 years. Disconnected. The new owners came outside and asked if I needed help moving my things. They were nice about it, but I could see the concern in their eyes. A college kid sitting on their new driveway with his life in boxes probably wasn't the welcome wagon they expected. I loaded everything into my beat-up Honda Civic, 2 boxes of clothes, 1 box of books, my old guitar, and a plastic tub of random stuff from my room. Everything else I'd ever owned was gone. My bed, my desk, the photo albums my mom used to show me when I was little, all of it vanished. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror at the house where I'd learned to ride a bike, where I'd brought dates to meet my parents, where I thought I'd always be welcome. The sold sign stood there like a middle finger pointed straight at me. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, scattered like breadcrumbs. I was too trusting to follow. My parents had been different during my sophomore year, quieter phone calls, shorter visits when I came home for holidays. My dad, who used to ask about my classes and my friends, started treating our conversations like business meetings. How are your grades? Do you need money? Okay, good. My mom stopped sending care packages. She used to mail me homemade cookies and handwritten notes every few weeks. The notes stopped first, then the cookies, then the calls altogether. I had grown up in that house on Maple Street, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a backyard where my dad taught me to throw a football. We weren't rich, but we were solid. My dad worked construction for Hollowgate Systems, building warehouses and office complexes around the city. My mom managed the front desk at a dental office. They'd owned the house for 25 years, bought it right after they got married. During Christmas break my junior year, I noticed my mom packing boxes in the basement. When I asked about it, she said they were donating old clothes to charity. I believed her because, why wouldn't I? Parents don't lie to their kids about something like that. My dad started talking about retirement more often. He was 58, my mom was 55, not old enough to retire, but old enough to start making plans. He mentioned Arizona a few times, said the weather would be better for his back. I figured it was just talk. The phone calls got shorter. My mom would hand the phone to my dad after 30 seconds, and he'd wrap up the conversation in another minute. Everything's fine here, son. Focus on your studies. I called less often. College kept me busy, and I had friends, girlfriends, a part-time job at the campus bookstore. I was building my own life, and I thought that was what they wanted: independence, growth, all the things parents are supposed to want for their kids. Spring semester, I tried calling home on a random Tuesday. No answer. I tried again the next day. No answer. When I finally reached them on Thursday, my dad sounded irritated. Ryan, we're busy. You can't just call whenever you want and expect us to drop everything. I called twice over 3 days. We have lives, too. That conversation lasted 45 seconds. The last time I talked to my mom was 2 weeks before finals. She sounded distant, distracted. When I asked if everything was okay, she said, "Everything's changing, Ryan. You'll understand when you're older." I should have pushed harder, should have asked what she meant, should have driven home that weekend instead of studying for my economics exam. Instead, I trusted them to be my parents. I spent that first night in my car in a Walmart parking lot, trying to process what had happened. My parents hadn't just moved, they'd erased me from their lives like I was a mistake they wanted to forget. The boxes in my back seat contained everything I had left from 22 years of existence. I opened the plastic tub and found my high school diploma, a few old photos, and a letter I had written to my future self in 8th grade. The letter talked about how excited I was to graduate college and come back home to start my career in Topeka, maybe take over my dad's business someday. The kid who wrote the letter had no idea his parents would throw him away like garbage. I called my best friend from high school, Tyler, but he was working in Denver. I called my college roommate, but he had gone home to Oklahoma City for the summer. I had other friends, but explaining this situation over the phone felt impossible. "Hey, my parents sold our house and abandoned me." Wasn't exactly casual conversation. The next morning, I drove to my dad's work site. Hollowgate Systems was building a new distribution center on the south side of town, and I knew he'd be there. I found his truck in the parking lot and waited. When he came out for lunch, he saw me sitting on my Honda's hood and walked over like he was approaching a stranger. "You need to stop this, Ryan." "Stop what?" "Asking why you sold our house without telling me?" "It wasn't your house. Your mom and I bought it. We can sell it. I lived there my entire life. You live at college now. You're an adult. Act like one." He turned to walk away, and something inside me snapped, not anger, something colder. "You're really going to pretend I don't exist?" He stopped walking but didn't turn around. "You exist. You just don't live with us anymore. Where am I supposed to go for Christmas? For summer break? For any time I need my family? Figure it out." He got in his truck and drove away without looking back. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching construction workers who probably had kids of their own, wondering if any of them would abandon their children the way my dad had just abandoned me. That afternoon, I called my mom one more time. It went to voicemail, but this time I left a message: "Mom, it's Ryan. I don't understand what's happening, but I need you to know that I love you. If you change your mind, if you want to explain why you did this, you have my number." She never called back. I deleted their numbers from my phone that night. If they wanted to pretend I didn't exist, I'd return the favor. I spent the rest of that summer couch surfing and working double shifts at a restaurant in downtown Topeka. My plan was simple: save money, finish college, and build a life that didn't depend on anyone who could walk away from me. Senior year flew by in a blur of classes, work, and careful budgeting.